Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marissa Kinzel, Content Manager here at Travel Media Group. I want to thank you all so much for joining me today. I am really excited to talk about review response with you all. Before we get started, I did want to remind you all that at the end of the webinar, I will be providing my contact information in case you have any questions about what we cover here today. You can also use the chat feature that you see on your screen, and I will be responding to those questions personally following the webinar's conclusion. Additionally, I would like to let everyone know to please be on the lookout. I have multiple interactive polls to share with you today, and I would really love your participation on those. So with that out of the way, let's get started with today's presentation. So, as I mentioned, I am the content manager here at Travel Media Group, though that is not where my journey began. A couple of years ago, I started on our Respond and Resolve team as a response analyst, working directly with our hotel partners on efficient and effective review response strategies. So, all of the advice that I'm sharing here today comes from a very personal place, right from the front lines of our review response program. So now that you know me a little better, I would like to get to know everyone on this webinar a bit better. So we have our first interactive poll question that I will launch, and that is going to be, how effective do you feel your review responses are at setting future guest expectations? So I have launched that poll, and you can go ahead and see it on your screen. Please feel free to be candid and honest with me. That is what we are here to talk about today, is review response. So I really do appreciate your participation on that. And if you happen to be just joining in now, of course you didn't miss terribly much, but we don't fret. We will be sending out a recording of the webinar following its conclusion. So no worries about that. So I'm going to leave this poll up just to make sure everybody has the chance to answer. How effective are your review responses at setting future guest expectations? So really think about what kind of content is in the review responses that you're writing whenever you're able to get in. I'll leave this up for a few more seconds, and I really do appreciate your interaction with this. It's very nice to get to know everyone. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And I again thank you very much for sharing your answers with me. I want to dig a little bit deeper into this conversation with you all. So we talk about setting expectations and making impressions. And before COVID-19, we know that most of that work was done by the front desk. They were your guests' first and last touch points at the hotel. Front desk agents welcome guests, they ask questions, they figure out how a stay is going to go, and they resolve any worries right there before the guests are even done checking in. At the end of the stay, they can be a filter to address any issues that arose before the guest goes home and posts online. However, in a post COVID world, more and more guests are moving to remote check in services. They pass your front desk completely, heading straight to their room to get settled. This completely erases that buffer that the front desk had to handle the guest and help them feel welcome and at home. So, what does this mean for your hotel? It means that your guests' expectations are being set before they even set foot on your property. As a result, you need to meet them where they are and set up their expectations online. I feel that review response is really the best, most efficient way to do this. If I'm a traveler searching for an exciting getaway in California, my Google search is going to lead me to specific property listings, whether on Google itself or on an OTA like TripAdvisor or Expedia. To narrow my choices, I'll use reviews to see what each hotel is about. No matter where you are, your potential guests are going to do the same thing. Reviews will be some of the first things they see about your property, both positive and negative, which brings me to my first best practices tip today. Respond to your reviews. You are probably already doing this, but it always bears repeating. If you receive a review with content, you need to respond to it quickly. This injection of your perspective is vital to ensuring that any future travelers looking at your hotel's listing online are seeing your side of the story and that you're listening to your guests, even if they leave you glowing reviews. And this brings me right into my second interactive poll question for today. I want to know, how often do you respond to your reviews online? Do you respond multiple times a day, once a day, or hardly ever? So I'm going to leave this poll up again for a little while just to make sure that everybody who's online can give me an answer on this. And again, please feel free to be candid. It's the subject of our webinar today. If you joined in, again, I will say if you joined in after I began, I will be sending a full recording of this webinar following its conclusion. You can go back, watch it again, and review all of the content that I have covered and will cover in the rest of today's webinar. So I'm going to give everybody just a minute to respond to that poll. So I'll leave that up for just a little bit longer. And I would also like to remind you all that you can feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I will respond to all questions following the webinar's conclusion. So again, how often are you able to get to a computer or your phone and respond to the reviews left at your property? All right, thank you so much for sharing that with me. So I noticed that a lot of you say that you are only able to get in and respond to your reviews once a day. So I'd like to share a brief hypothetical story with you. So let's say that you only have that one time that you spend each day responding to your reviews, and let's call it 2 p.m., but that overlaps with your check-in time, and you might be the only person on your property who can check anybody in. So obviously the guests waiting for rooms are your priority. So you answer reviews at 1:50 and then you go and handle the front desk. But let's say your day is surprisingly busy and you're at your desk until 4, answering incoming questions, answering phone calls, and of course handling incoming guest requests. So at the same time, reviews are being posted online. So that means any future travelers are seeing what your past guests have been posting while you are busy checking in your current guests. And what if one of those reviews is negative? What if you chose the wrong 10 minutes of your day to go in and respond to reviews? It could be 12, 24, 36 hours before you are even able to get back into those review sites and handle any negative review that might have come in while you were busy taking care of your property. So you may think that setting upcoming guest expectations in a review response isn't the main goal, but as we move further into recovery, that is really what it's becoming. So the purpose of review response pre-COVID was a bit simpler. You could include keywords like your hotel's name to float good reviews to the top of Google search results. You can express general thanks and you could clear up misunderstandings just to be sure that guests felt heard. It was all more procedural. Maybe you were responding to reviews just because it was part of the process and it didn't have as much to do with future travelers' first impression of you. This is a huge piece of the puzzle that has shifted post-COVID. Guests are now looking for different information, and it needs to be continually accessible on your website, on social media, and embedded in as many review responses as possible. Guests are looking for COVID policies like mask mandates or capacity limits. They're seeking information on local restrictions. And as always, review response post COVID is your space to clear up misunderstandings. When you do this, you boost guest confidence. They're able to feel like they know exactly what they're going to get by staying at your hotel. And this brings me to my next best practices tip: promote your amenities. In positive reviews, you can openly advertise upcoming changes if you have something confirmed in your pipeline that you want to share, such as our pool is opening soon, or our gym is regularly cleaned between uses and open to all guests. In negative reviews, however, try to only mention your amenities if they are in the subject of the review itself. Discuss them in a positive light or use it as a way to clear up a misunderstood policy. For example, you could say something like, "We're sorry you found our breakfast didn't meet your expectations. We're working with our staff to get the regular cafe up and running again soon." And this whole idea dovetails right into my third best practices tip for today: reinforce your policies in every review possible. The situation surrounding COVID-19 is still changing, and depending on your state, your restrictions, mask mandates, and crowd control policies may be different than where your traveler is coming from. And guests won't feel confident booking with you unless they are up to date on all of your policies. And reinforcing them in review response boosts that confidence, ultimately improving your guests' first impression of your hotel. This goes especially for negative reviews. Restating your policies and mentioning changes as they occur can really smooth over any misunderstandings that may have arisen during a guest's stay. Again, it keeps your future guests in the know about your latest version of the policies that you have before they even hit your website. So we all know how crucial review response is to your online reputation, but writing review responses takes time, and time is the most valuable resource for hoteliers right now. You want to spend it taking care of your guests and your property. And that is why Travel Media Group offers a robust review response program. Our team of professional US-based writers handles the hard part for you. The team is experienced and uses your customizable review response notes to get your hotel's voice, policies, greetings, and signatures perfect every time. And all of our responses can be reviewed by you before posting, and our experienced team audits every response again before it goes public. So, as we are wrapping up today's webinar, I do have one last question for you all, and that would be whether or not you would like to learn more about our Respond and Resolve solution. The team is just as on top of their game as I have been explaining today in this webinar. They responded to over 20,000 reviews. It is picking up for us. They're incredible. But I will leave this poll up for just a minute or so to be sure that everybody has a chance to respond. And again, if you joined us late, don't worry, we will be sending a full recording for this webinar out to your email later today. If you have any other questions, again, use the chat feature on your screen to send them directly to me. And I'm going to throw up my direct contact information in just a minute here so that you can send any further questions directly to me there as well. And I will be able to follow up with any questions asked within a business day. So I'm again going to give everybody just a minute to respond to this poll. Going to leave that up for just about maybe 30 more seconds or so. I really do appreciate, again, all of the participation throughout today's webinar very much. And again, I'll be leaving this up for just a bit longer to make sure everybody online has the chance to vote. All right, everybody, thank you very much for your responses. And as promised, here is my direct contact information. So please feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have about what I discussed in today's webinar. And if you did ask any questions through chat, again, reminding you all that I will get back to you within 1 business day. So if you did enjoy today's presentation, I encourage you to please visit our page on YouTube for more educational content. We have a concierge desk series and a 5 in 5, which is 5-star hotel advice in 5 minutes or less. And we also have another webinar coming up next month that I would like you all to keep an eye out for, hosted by Ryan Embry, about exceeding new guest expectations. I want to thank you all again so much for joining me, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.